Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am here with you. What?
I still see it.
What?
Nothing. Not bring any attention to
Thank
it.
you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandon. I am the CEO of Delight Cafe CBD, or Delight's Digital Cafe, where you could find us on all streaming platforms. Tonight is an episode of The H, an honest conversation about health, hemp, and happiness. Sorry. Hey guys, working till 7. I appreciate you coming in, Maurizio, saying hello. I saw a Twitch thing said hello. I was like, oh crap, if Twitch is already on me, I'm going to have to send somebody over. Hello, Fernando. Good to see you, my friend. So we are going to have a pretty good, heavy conversation today. I have an interview that's supposed to be coming on. Her name's Amanda. You guys saw her the other day on the Morning Brew, and she and I set up everything for today. We were all excited. I am assuming that she will be joining us, but at the same point, I don't want to assume anything and just like waste anything because Brian Tracy, I love it. I haven't seen your name in a long time, my man. Hell yeah. Guys, I am so excited we have a crew today full of people, so I'm excited. We got a lot of good stuff. Joe and I are going to have a very serious conversation today. I am in the pink jail. This is called that because this is where, when I came home from my divorce, this was the exact jail cell I got to be in. Now, I love my family. I love my parents very much, but this was where I had a pretty big breakdown and needed to find myself and happiness, and not just looking not just looking at everybody else, but looking in the mirror for my happiness. And this is a very serious topic for me. It is about suicide. It's about mental health. If you don't know my story, I'll make it very quick. Missed you, brother, and good to see you too, Miss Bridget. So I have had ups and downs my whole life. I've been a guy who I ran into old friends recently, and they were like, man, you are just always been the positive guy. And the compliment I got was, Brandon's the team player even when there's no team. And I thought that was just a great compliment. And it's interesting because I've spent my whole life wanting to be giving to people, but at the end, deep down inside, I was miserable with me. And a lot of people feel that way. And I've attempted a suicide 3 different times, and I'm very open about it because I'm not going to attempt ever again, because I see that I'm worth way more than that. But that doesn't mean I still don't have downtimes. And a lot of men are afraid to have these conversations. So I'm on here today to have that conversation and talk about mental health and men's mental health. Couple quick statistics. I love it. Thank you, Brian. I love it, man. Hondro, I love it.
Does he get anything? Come on, you gotta send him some samples at least.
He actually got a box of CBD recently. I've been waiting to hear how it went and how it's going. His dog was having some issues, and I was so excited I know, Bridget, 100. I love it. I was excited to hear how his dog's doing and how everything's going. I personally, hey, April, I literally, shut up, Joe. I saw you laugh at me there.
I was just smiling because April said hi, and so did Bridget. Thought we weren't assuming. We started off this episode with no assumptions.
There's no assuming. Touche. Well played, my friend.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is I want to talk about mental health as a whole, but at the same point, we're going to be talking about how to handle things. And Joe and I talk about mental health a lot. And I want to read some quick things. I'm going to add this to our stream. So there's 151 million, almost 152 million males in the United States. And these statistics were back from... Wieners. That's a lot of wieners. You're right.
I can't help it. The first thing I thought, I was like, wow, that's a lot.
So there's about 6 million that are affected by depression per year. And I want you to think about that for a minute. So that means there's still 151,781,320 million other men around. But that's 6 million a year. So after 40 years, because I'm going to be sure I shouldn't use this as
Yeah, keep it going. Slow and steady wins the race, buddy.
oh man. So I'm going to be I'm going to be 40 in a couple months, and everybody thinks it gets to me, but at the end of the day, it really does not. I just think if you take 40 times 6, that's 240 million people. I'm sorry, that's 24 million people. So, nope, it's 240 million. Whatever, I'm wrong. So I did the math wrong on that. It's a lot, let me tell you. So 1 in 5 adult males experience a mental health problem each year. Serious mental illness costs the American taxpayers $193.2 billion in lost earnings a year. So lost earnings is an interesting thing because, like, I don't know if any of you guys know that when you call off of work and you can't get yourself up and out of bed, there really is people like me who I break and I can't move. And it takes someone like Joe, and why he's fuck Joe, because he will call me and literally, go ahead, do that again. He will call me and be like, where are you at? Why are you not at the gym? What are you eating? What are you doing? Joe is a great human being, and I am truly honored that I have someone like him in my life, because with mental health issues and dealing with having problems in that, serious mental health illness means I'm calling off of work randomly. I might wake up and I can't move. 19.1 million Americans suffer from, adults suffer from 18 to 54, suffer from anxiety disorders. 3 million men have a panic disorder or any other phobias. Bipolar disorder. All right, I want to jump into this for a second. 2.3 million Americans are affected by bipolar disorder. An equal amount of men and women will develop this illness between the ages of 16 and 25. I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder at the age of 24. And at 38 in this April, I can tell you right now that at 34 years old, I was or at 24 years old, I did not know how to cope, how to handle, how to be myself and me. And I know Joe is a very intellectual person, but Joe knows how to deal with mental health different than anybody else. Joe, give a quick example of what it's like working for someone as nutty as me.
I wouldn't say nutty. I would just say, it's accepting the fact that people have ups and downs. It's just a little different. It's instead of someone bitching and complaining like, "Oh, I'm having a bad day. I got like a parking ticket," and they're moody. It's different. Sometimes, we can have a great day the day before, and you wake up and you're just off your game. Being with you for some time, obviously working for you, it's a little easier to tell. There's certain cues. But I have a lot of close people in my life that have mental illness disorders, and I guess that's what helps me see it. But you really have to have empathy when you have friends and family with mental disorder to try to understand it. And honestly, good friends and family, do a little research on your own. Take some time to read a fucking article here and there. Excuse my language. I also don't care. But read an article here and there to try to understand what that loved one's going through, because the reason I always started doing that is because there's certain triggers they have. And what might help a normal person get through something is actually going to make them feel worse, or make their symptoms worse. So you have to approach, anxiety disorder, panic disorder differently than maybe bipolar disorder. And, knowing the differences and understanding some of that stuff really helps you become a good friend and also understand who you're dealing with, that they're a good person. They just, they have an extra battle in their life that you don't. And you got to learn to get around it and help them.
I 100% agree with you on that, buddy. I'm going to throw some statistics at you, all right? And we're just going to play a game. There's no wrong answer. Math. Yeah, there's no math. You're just going to yell numbers.
Because I would cheat if there was. Go ahead.
All right, that's fine. I'm fine with you cheating. Yes. What is the highest suicide rate in the U.S.? So what ethnicity?
Oh, ethnicity?
Ethnicity.
Oh, I'm going to go Caucasian, actually, on that one.
You are actually correct. What
Nailed
is
it.
In an age frame, what is the average age of people that commit suicide?
I know this is pretty broad, but I'm going to say between 18 and 30.
Actually, this one is kind of a surprise to me. It is 85 years old. The average 85-year-old man has a 1 in 4 chance of actually committing suicide because of loneliness, anxiety,
And
depression.
see, and they thought Kevorkian was a bad guy.
I
What?
mean, all right, you ready?
Right.
Did you know that the U.S. man is 4 times more likely to die of suicide in the U.S. in 2010? He is 4 times more likely, and that 79 or 3/4% of all suicides are men. Why do you think that is?
You know, I would have to honestly, if we kind of go back to when we were talking to Brett to bring this in about masculine and feminine energies, right? And then how to tie in last week with the healing with the masculine and feminine energies as well. I think society for so many years branded men, and for lack of better words, pussies, ironically, for not being able to talk about their feelings. And you're always raised, to be strong and be a man. You're very closed off. And most men aren't even that open with their wives, sad as that is. And I think that it's that all bottled up, and there's not a healthy avenue. And some men are really good at being manly and finding that avenue, whether it's sports, fitness, a hobby, the arts. But I think women are more in touch with their feelings and learning to cope. It's kind of like when you look at relationships, right? Like men do real good after a breakup out the gate. I'm going to go party. I'm going to find a new girl. Like they're all happy and they have that freedom. And women are eating ice cream, crying for 3 months. And then guys, all of a sudden, it flips, right? They're all sad and depressed with their girl. And girls like, yep, done, over it. Cried for 3 months. I'm good now. Like, then they're done. And I think that plays a lot of roles, just that energy in the masculine and feminine.
So, I actually read. There's a question right here. It's wonderful how everything pops up on my computer, every message, like over everything else. So I think it makes it harder when you're surrounded by people who honestly don't really know you or care enough to know when you have an episode is coming or when you're in a dark space. And while Bridget, I agree with you, I think it's also knowing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's not me insulting what you're saying. I spent years blaming my dad, my mom, my sisters, my ex-wife, Joe. I'm sorry, Joe.
I don't know if I get years yet, but getting close.
It's getting close. But like
I'm 5.5.
half. I spent the better part of my life wanting them to love me for me and pushing the way I think they should love me on everybody else. When truthfully, I needed to be more understanding of their love towards me and seeing it. That's accepting love. And I've always been bad at that. I've been and this isn't about me. It's just people in general are usually like, I'm a people pleaser, and people like me, are literally in life trying to do everything they can they want to feel the love that they want to give. That's my best way of saying that is I want to help other people. That's why I created Delight. That's why I partner with people who are going to drive me insane, but at the same point, they have the best interest for the company and me at heart. And when I think of mental health and all these different things, I think of how I have to be able to learn that my dad's love language to me is when he buys me breakfast and we go out, just him and I, and talk. That means the world to him that we're one-on-one. But then him paying for the meal makes him know he loves me, and it makes him feel really good. And I hear that love language. I've started to understand that's what it is, but I used to have the mentality of, why are you buying me things when you can talk to me? And that's not what it needs to be. It needs to be open.
I mean,
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
To answer Bridget's question, I mean, obviously there's so many right answers and wrong. I mean, there's really no wrong answers. It's a double-edged sword with that. And, it's kind of what Brandon was talking about, the love languages. And this is something, in the last couple, probably 5 years I've learned, and it's really hard to accept, but everyone loves differently. And you really do need to accept that and try to see the way they love. And, you can't expect your best friend or your lover or family to love the way you do. I mean, that's what makes you unique, right? And we all do love differently. But at the same time, if you're always closed off and pushing people away and not opening up, you can't expect them to make effort to know you, because eventually they're going to stop trying. And that's just how it is. But on the flip side, it's a double-edged sword, because there are, friends and family out there that they don't make any effort at all. and that's all you really want as a family member or friend, is just see a little effort from them, and then maybe that would allow you to open up. So it's just so different from everybody, and I think that's what makes all of us unique, is that we're so different. But it's a double-edged sword. There's good and bad in all of it.
I agree. I agree. So I was over looking at a few other. Oh, I don't want to open that one. Sorry, I opened my YouTube page that I didn't mean to. I actually was looking at other statistics, and did you know that nearly 1 in 10 men in America suffer from anxiety or depression? Like, and I've been looking into these things for a while now, and it's interesting. And please, people tell me if there's a difference. But a lot of men suffer from this because they don't want to open their doors. Joe, like open up their emotional side. Joe, guys coming out wanting to do conversations. If I said, "Hey, Joe, let's go to the bar, shoot some pool, and talk. I want to talk to you about some stuff. I need some help." It's really different for guys to be able to go out and do that compared to girls. And that's why when guys do open up, I know Joe and I have had this conversation. When a girl and you are significant other and you fight, and you're trying to understand, and it's just a difference of opinion and all that, having an emotional response, if you're not with the right partner, can sometimes lead down a bad path. And that's why people suffer, is they don't understand how that difference of answering one another can be.
Can you repeat it one more time? Yeah, I was trying to actually answer April's question on the low, but I don't have a YouTube account. I just have a login. She asked how much is a box of delight. I was trying to type it in and multitask, and then I kind of, not to be rude, I did lose the last part of your question. I want to make sure I answer it.
Basically, when you're out and you're dealing with somebody that maybe another guy or another person that is struggling with being able to open up about what's really hurting them and the pains that they've felt their whole life to get to that next phase, how do you respond to them to be able to help be there for other men, significant others, etc.?
I mean, honestly, with guys, it's always a much different approach. And I feel with females it is too, just because nowadays the way society is, it's like being nice to another female. It's like, oh, you're hitting on them, and there's all these creative words for being a nice guy now. Like you want something in return. And I think that's so disgusting. But at the same time, a lot of people use those things to, for lack of better words, try to get in girls' pants if you're a guy, and maybe vice versa. And I think it's just sad that you can't just be a good human being and care for a friend without a negative, condescending part. But for men specifically, I honestly think baby steps is a really good approach. If you're a good friend, you obviously know the way they are. You have to know not to push too hard because it might make them angry, might make them even more closed off. So I think giving like little hints along the way of like, if you want to talk, let me know, or like, hey, you want to go do something, try to get them engaged in the areas that they're comfortable in to where they feel like they might open up, or maybe just be really honest, be like, hey, I noticed you've been a little down and out lately. You don't have to tell me about it, but like, why don't we hang out? Like, why don't we do something? Like, why don't we talk about it? Or, just find a way to kind of get a little peek inside that window of what they're going through so that maybe you can help them or point them in the right direction to the help they need. And I think for men talking to females, it's the same thing. I mean, a lot of guys and girls are very close friends, and there's no lover relationship between that. And it's just, you can be maybe a little more open with them because of that feminine energy, but at the same time, know what they're comfortable with and don't be too pushy, because you don't want to push them back into that dark corner.
Yeah. And I like what Brian's saying here. A lot of people are expecting others to pull them out of a dark place. I think that a good rebuttal for that is when you're certain guys and certain people, just in general, I 100% think that they do that, Brian. They reach out and they're in a dark place, but when they're feeling good about themselves, they give of their good to others that want picked up still. And it's taking care of you. It's taking care of yourself on these things, because truthfully, like, no matter what you do, you have to be in love with yourself and build you up. And when guys open up, they have to feel more comfortable in that dark place. And if they can't handle the dark, they're never going to see the light. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be all philosophical here. Did you know that the average American male has a 3.5% higher chance of committing suicide than a female?
I do now.
I'm just giving you like statistics that I literally Googled men and mental health, and then I found a million different things. Men does everybody know somebody who maybe drinks? I like to drink here and there, not often, but drugs, alcohol, dependencies become something for these very quickly. Approximately 1 in 5 men develop an alcohol dependency in their life. So I want you to put those two numbers together. You have a 1 in 5 chance of developing an alcohol addiction, and you have a 1 in 4 chance of having a mental illness because of not feeling adequate enough in your society. That means as men, 2 out of every 9 men are suffering from something in silence. Now, I'm not saying women aren't suffering. I am not saying anything about anybody else. I'm saying that in all honesty, with the breakdown of what we're having as a society, it needs to be brought to the attention because it's only getting worse. In the last 5 years, the suicide rate for kids in middle school has tripled year over year.
And I think there's a lot of contributing factors to that too, Brandon, which I know we're going to go over a little later, even with COVID, of like how some of these numbers the influx is going up pretty crazy. But real quick to touch on what Bridget said. Yeah, Bridget, that definitely goes along with kind of a little of what we stated earlier. And I agree, different generations of men were taught to keep it on the inside, be this manly man and work with your hands and work hard and, provide for your family and wash your hands of it. And it is what it is. And it's, my issue now is my views on the subject are a little harsher just because I'm a realist and I don't like to be a victim. So I tell myself a lot of harsh truths, but another problem is depression and anxiety have become super trendy. And
yes.
And the false image we're giving these younger people, I feel like adults can, you kind of know as you are older if something's wrong or you feel off. You're old enough to start to understand your emotions, your feelings, even if you bottle them up. But these young kids, they're just hitting puberty and starting to get these feelings. And, in all the music, the social media, all these things, it's so trendy to, I'm depressed, I have anxiety. It could be true and it could not be true. But that's, a really sad reality is it's becoming so trendy to be like, oh, it's okay. Just, get on that crutch and use that excuse. I have anxiety. I have depression when, their parents haven't taken them for help. They haven't been tested. They there's a lot of miscommunication between doctors, parents, and kids. And then they go on social media and see all this happiness, right?
Correct. And well, that's what I was just saying. Like, because you said it, they go on social media, but it's trending to be depressed. It's trending to say you have anxiety. That's something that is, if that's trending, that means we need to be better examples. We need to show what joy is. We need to show how we.
Right. Well, my end point.
Sorry, buddy, I interrupted you there. Go ahead.
My end point is a lot of type of psychologists and therapists. They've came out and talked about it as it's gotten more trendy, and as the younger generations that are still young are having a lot of problems, which I'm sure everyone in the chat knows is partially because social media and online bullying, from video games to the internet. That's something that we grew up with half our life, not our whole life. So that's a big contributor. But they have said this chasing happiness reality to be happy every day, it's bullshit. And I stick by that 100%. Normal human beings with no anxiety, no depression, none of the bad things that are very blessed to not have any. You're going to have ups and downs every single day. Achieving perfect happiness every day is unrealistic. It's like being perfect. It's not a thing. It doesn't exist. You're going to have ups and downs, and that doesn't mean you're messed up. It doesn't mean you have a problem. It's just a day. And I think if people can start to wrap their head around that's just part of being a human being, it will make life a little easier for them to know it's just a bad day. I'm not messed up. I don't have an issue. I'll be okay, and just deal with it. And it's hard, but we want to make sure we point people in the right direction and give people a healthy place to talk about those things, and try to educate the best we can, not being professionals, but just being two people that care about mental health.
Correct. Thank you for pointing that out. I think that this is a good point as well, that a lot of men are taught that real men are not to show their emotions. They create mental burden. I personally know that every time I post, talk, or anything about mental health, the people that criticize what I'm doing are usually the people who they don't want to know any better. It's their opinion of it as something that's negative. But for me, it's not. It's not a crutch. It's not a weakness. It's a stepping into that next realm of who you are. And I think that more of us are seeing that taking care of our mental health is essential. When I know a couple of the people in here, we have truck drivers, we have nurses. I know a couple of these people in here, and having the nurses, you're dealing with patients that are cranky all day. You're dealing with family members that want answers, but you can't provide. You're dealing with so many things. Then we turn around and you go to truck drivers. They have anxieties of dumbass drivers on the road that we experience with a couple thousand tons behind them. So we all have these anxieties. We all have these problems. And when real men not being able to express themselves, or therapy being labeled as a sign of weakness, I think that needs to be displayed differently, because therapy should be a way of, I'm proud of you. Good job. I think you need to keep taking care of you. What can I do for you? How do you check in with people? Like, Joe, if I don't text you today, perfect example, I had a busy day. You didn't hear from me for a couple hours. You have literally, you called and you text to check in. Why did you do that?
Because I know what you struggle with and suffer from, and I know that you could have a good day like yesterday, and all of a sudden today, one little thing that maybe someone normal would be like, "Oh, that sucks," and they're able to kind of just brush it off. It might stick with you a little longer, and it might take you a little longer to work through it than the average person, which is okay. But it's always double checking on that, and that's just a little extra effort. Took me 30 seconds, twice, so a minute, and that's it. It's not like I had to do that much extra.
I mean, and Joe's texts aren't exactly the most like warming. Like when he
No,
sends a text,
no, they're not.
it's not like,
They're very
"Hey, B,
direct.
I just want to check in, make sure you're good. I hope you're all right." No, it's, "Hey, I haven't heard from you. Are you getting my messages? Answer me, asshole."
Besides the last part, it's just that's a period. But yeah, I mean, I might think that a little bit.
I agree. We do need more empathy and kindness in this world. April, I have been to a therapist, and I'm proud of it. It helped me 100%, and I think I should start going back. I think you should. I think the other thing is a lot of people think, "Oh, well, if I go to therapy, that's going to mean I'm going to get fixed by them." Here's the thing. You have to go to someone you trust, and you don't build that trust without actually going. So that first step is having that conversation. When you walk in that room and they start asking questions, if you don't like what they're saying and you don't like how the energy is between you guys, ask for somebody else, because that's your right. That's your mental health. Also, if your doctor's pushing pills and they keep telling you need something else, do yourself a favor and turn back and say, what makes me happy? What is going to help me? Because if you're not wanting to be on 15 pills, then do yourself a favor and know you don't want to be on 15 pills. Know your boundary, know your worth. Because when I was on 15 pills, I'll tell you this, the day I saw how much it was screwing me up was the day I wanted to find a new therapist. And I did not know how to do that or where to even start, because I thought I was stuck. But the truth is, you're not. And when you take care of you, you're going to find those insignificant people around you, like Joe, where
Every time.
where they're going to turn around and they're going to call you for that 30 seconds to say, "Hey, I just want to make sure you're at least working out. What did you eat today?" And he really does do that to me. Did you go to McDonald's? Did you do this? And
Dunking.
I was not allowed to go to McDonald's all of 2020, and I still haven't
not,
gone.
because you screwed it up
On
right at the end, like 2 days to New Year's, he screws it up.
I did. I was so like, I just had not had an Egg McMuffin in so long.
But I mean, to touch on real quick before we read Bridget's last one, to touch on like a lot of the stuff you guys saying, and I'm kind of putting it all together at once, is my mom taught me this, so this is coming from a woman, and I've learned this from other women as well, and I firmly believe it. Real men face their feelings, because it's much harder to do so than ignore them. Like, to face your demons and overcome them, to me, and I'm sure a lot of other manly guys will disagree with me, but facing your demons is much harder than avoiding them. To me, that's the bitch way out. You're doing it the easy way by brushing them off and playing avoidance. Well, that's great, but a real man's going to face them and overcome them. And then another point is, if we look at therapy like we look at a lot of other things, like everyone loves to go get a massage when they can afford it. People love going to the gym. People love engaging in their hobbies because that helps their mental health or their physical presence, right? Well, those are positive things. So why does therapy have such a negative light, right? Like you go to a chiropractor, we had a great one on as a guest. You know, we had a business mentor like Brett on, another one. We had a healing mentor on. Why is all that looked at so positively, but saying I'm going to therapy to work on myself, negative? See, that's the problem. And it just has the wrong shade of light to it. And it needs to be kind of turned around.
I
Because
agree.
it's just another way of self-development.
100%. You also, so Bridget, I was reading all of your comments, and figuring out your triggers is essential. And I think Joe will agree with me. When you know your triggers, the people around you start to get to know them, and you work together. You did this, like you literally, instead of going and hiding at home because of seeing a funeral procession and the pain that it brought you and was a trigger, you literally went home, you cleaned your house, you cooked dinner, and you were an active mother. I think that is like a compliment. You deserve to give yourself a round of applause for that, because just like Brian Tracy in the next line, facing my demons was the hardest thing I ever did. And that's from another man. Looking in the mirror and seeing the things you hate about yourself, and then being able to say, how do I fix those? How can I get better? You know? And Bridget, when you did, I'm sorry, Joe, I'm going to finish this one really quick.
Go ahead.
And when it made you feel better, knowing you didn't let it trigger or defeat you, that means you made it through a cycle. Do yourself a favor, pat yourself on the back, be proud of the good mother that you are, and focus on that on what might that next trigger be, because you want to be able to help build that for your kids. I hear it exactly like every time we comment and stuff. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, the triggers is super important. And if you have a good therapist, they're going to help you identify those. You know, that's part of their job. They're going to help you identify those triggers. And there's a lot of therapies out there, and there's some weird ones out there. Like I know people that watch certain types of YouTube videos with sound and visuals. Sounds silly, but it takes them away when they're having an anxiety attack and just brings them down. Like it might be like seriously watching someone mix colors of paint, or like those videos on like Snapchat or YouTube, like the weird sounds, like the cool sounds and stuff like that. But those are weird. Like a lot of people don't know, those are actually little anxiety treatments to help triggers. And I think self-education is a really good thing. Even if you're going to a therapist, if they're like, you know, we think you have this, this, and this, look up what common triggers are for those. Look up what common therapies are for those. I don't think it's important to fall down that rabbit hole because you're not a professional. It's like Googling a cold on WebMD, and then all of a sudden 3 steps later, I have cancer and I freak out. Like you don't want to do that. But at the same time, a little education to better your life at home in between seeing the therapist or to bring them questions, I think is really valuable.
I agree. Joe, you're a people person.
No, I'm not. Yes, I am. I'm right there with April. What famous quote when it said people are hell or people are the devil? I forget who said it, but that's a good one in my eyes.
People are the devil?
Or people are hell. I forget the quote, but yeah.
So, Joe, how do you take care of yourself to keep yourself strong? Because you keep yourself going, you keep yourself in a positive mindset. And I know it's not always, especially today. And that's why I'm very grateful you're here today.
Oh, no. I mean, I had to talk to one of my clients this week, actually, who was going through ups and downs. And I told him, like, dude, I'm not perfect. I don't have the answers to everything, but I'm like, just been there, done that. And really popular quote I like, if you're going through hell, keep walking or keep going, right? You can't get out from somewhere if you stop or stay stagnant. So find ways to help you get out. And it's okay if it's baby steps. But one thing I tell a lot of my friends, and I've told Brandon before, if you need a mental health day, take it. Truly take it. If you just want to lay your ass on the couch or in the bed, eat whatever the hell you want to eat, maybe engage in some extracurriculars that you like to engage in, fine. But let it only be one day, because if you let it snowball, it becomes 2, 3, 4, 5 a week. And then that hole you just dug is much harder to get out, to where if you just take that one day to not care about the world or bills or all the life responsibilities, and then you go, hey, tomorrow I got to get back on my grind and I got to kill it. Well, then there you go. At least you had that day to detach and kind of recover. And that's kind of honestly the way I've been doing it for a long time, is just take that day here and there.
So I have a question, Joe. And that is great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Did you know there's different kinds of bipolar?
Yeah, I did.
Can you tell me the difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2?
Manic or non-manic?
Pretty much, yeah. There's other things too,
There
but
is. Bipolar 2 has
uh,
way higher suicide rates as long as it's manic as well. Yeah.
yeah, it's you're right there with it.
He
So
did pick the one I do know a lot about.
I also knew that. That's why I was playing.
I figured.
Exponential energy, restlessness, trouble concentrating, risky behaviors, and poor sleep. That just sounds like me with bipolar 1. And
Not
then
so
when
much
you start
risky
reading,
behaviors.
yeah, would you say the risky behaviors?
Not so much unless you're trying to, falling off a tree, spitting fire or something. Then that might fit. That was the best. Are you okay? No.
So Joe and I were texting, and
your fiance actually replied for you because you were not doing good that day.
I will call you later, Brian. Good for coming. Thanks, bro.
Thanks for attending, Brian.
And then Joe knows his shit, Brandon. I know. That's why I keep him around. But what's hilarious to me is my family saw me. I climbed down a ravine and went to spin fire on this log, and I fell, and I shouldn't have been where I was. And I couldn't respond. And my whole family, instead of asking, "Are you okay?" they each individually decided that's how you're supposed to yell.
That's
like
me,
it's they're like, "Hey, B, are you okay?" Yeah, yeah. Well, are you okay?
They want to climb down there.
Yeah. Hey, did you die? No, but I do.
It always reminds me of. Are you sleeping? Well, was thanks. Not now.
Yep. So last week I did not do the morning brew, and a lot of people saw it. And I jumped on here to make sure I kept going strong with my network and all that. But my depression kicked in, and I think when I read these thoughts of suicide, change of eating habits. Last week I barely ate. Changes in sleeping habits. I ate what you wanted me to eat, but I did not eat the entire time I was there. Like last week, I probably ate one meal a day.
This is how I catch him, everybody. He always slips up like a week later.
So I have trouble concentrating. I'm very irritable and tired. And I felt all of that. I was like, I didn't notice how bad I fell off until all of a sudden I'm like, I'm in I think that's funny. This caught me. I think manic tendencies coming. I see manic tendencies coming through after I go through a bad cycle, and all of a sudden I want to go shopping for shit I don't need. Target loves me for that. I have a Target credit card that I pay off all the time because I go in after a cycle and I'm like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'm going to go to Target and get my groceries. And the next thing I know, I have a new blender. I have new home electronics. I have stupid shit. 5 new onesies. Why do I need that many onesies? Only 2 onesies per time at Target.
And I think that's honestly, a common therapy for a lot of people, and not even just bipolar. I think depression is kind of splurging a little bit on themselves to make them feel better. I know I'm a big Kid Cudi fan. He mentions it in a couple songs. But I like to take that therapy and reverse it a little bit to where, hey, if you make it through that good day or that bad day, that was really a mental struggle for you, buy yourself something nice once in a while. Maybe don't go buy a Versace purse or like a belt, if you're a guy. But maybe there's a pair of shoes you've been wanting for a long, long time. And they're like $80 to $100. Go buy them. If it's not all the time, it's once in a while, spin it to a positivity to be like, went through a lot of bad days recently. I think I've earned to treat myself a little bit. Just keep it reasonable, obviously, within your budget.
I mean, and that's what I think the biggest thing is once you have that, so the biggest word you said there is budget. And when you know your budget, don't break it. And I am horrible at that. Joe knows. He calls me out on my shit all the time. I'm better than I was when you first.
Yeah, you're not too bad.
No, but like, so April,
if you protein cookies or brownies, I'll happily eat those.
Exactly. You start making protein brownies, protein cheesecake, protein cake. We'll put it on the channel and sell it as the AM.
I was going to eat it.
Yeah, but I could sell it for her and she can make some money.
I could still eat some.
Well, yeah, that's your share.
That's fine. That's fine.
If April, but my thing is, there's a lot of problems out there today. Bipolar 1 to bipolar 2. Scientists are still trying to understand. They don't know what causes bipolar disorder. Abnormal physical characteristics of the brain or an imbalance in certain brain chemicals may be among the main causes. The thing is, researchers have been studying this, but they haven't really been doing research to figure out how to be testing people ahead of time, um, how to be able to turn around and get see early stages as kids. Joe, when you were in school, if kids were a little bit more hyper, like this is the H, I'm the H in ADHD. So like, I saw that smile.
You guys reading the
Wouldn't you
Cookie
say?
Monster?
But wouldn't you say, buddy, that like there's a huge group of people out there that they suffer from this, and I
I
lost
mean,
my thought because of
I
Cookie
think it's
Monster.
a no, I got you. I think it's a worldview problem. Like if you look at like scary movies to movies and Hollywood in general, like even if you watch movies from other countries, mental health is treated like some horrible just disease, and people are mistreated like crap that have it. And let's be honest, it doesn't mean they're bad people. They just have a tougher card in their hand dealt to them that not everyone had, and they have to learn to overcome that. And I think the world's getting better on it. The countries that are developed and can afford research and put medical money and taxpayer money into it, I think we're getting better, but we're very far from understanding. I mean, we're far from understanding a lot. I mean, cancer is still a big issue, and look at the technology we have for medicine. We could come up with these things real quick to help COVID out, these vaccines, right? But we're still dealing with cancer killing people on the regular. It's, I mean, cancer is so bad that you talk to anybody, they've had a family member that's passed to it. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know anybody that hasn't. And so I think it's just the thing is we just need to keep putting money and research into it and figuring out, is it's stuff in the foods? Is it the way our lifestyles are now? This busy, busy, busy. I mean, what is it? And there's a lot of contributing factors that could be causing these issues for young kids. And medication's not always the way. I mean, I'm a firm believer of taking the hard way to do things. So I feel like when people push pills, that's just the easy way, and that's a lot of therapists not really wanting to take the hard route to their job. But like bipolar disorder, to not make you guys think all medicine's bad, is it's literally an imbalance in the brain. So certain medications for bipolar disorder are actually very good, and it helps that imbalance. But like Brandon said, 15 pills is 15 pills, so you have to be careful.
Right. I read Bridget's comment here about her mother has been writing the governor to make April 16th recognized as Adolescent Suicide Awareness Day. I'm very sorry for your loss. Just please know, because I do understand. I've had multiple people in my life have taken their life, and I sympathize and send you love and appreciation for being here. She got it declared 2 or 3 years. So that's pretty stinking cool. That's an awesome
Yeah.
thing right there, Bridget. And then April, most of all her friends have some kind of mental thing, and I think that's why we get along. We can somewhat relate to each other. I think that's true because we see genuineness behind people. We see who real people can be, and when you start opening up yourself and being empathetic to people, you feel more comfortable letting them come into your life. But you have to still be cautious. You have to know like who you are and what your boundaries are. Don't
Hmm.
fall for other people's stuff just because you are getting along and maybe you've had connections in different ways. Because all of a sudden you could be in a situation that they're in a much worse mental health state and you didn't know it. You vibed. So be cautious. Make sure you're taking care of you first. Um, Speaking of that, Joe, what activities have you noticed are commonly talked about for helping people with mental health and stuff like that? Like, do they
Uh,
exercise is a big one you do
I
with
mean,
me, and diet?
fitness is a really well. I mean, diet, because certain nutritional diets, and if we had a dietitian on here that knows more than me, they can really get into it. But certain actual diets literally help with specific mental disorders. Like you should be, and same with cancers and other things, or thyroid issues. Like you should be on a certain diet. And then fitness is a big one. And people always, when they hear fitness, they think all these influencers on Instagram and YouTube, and they're like, oh, I got to lift weights. No, you don't have to lift weights. There is so many types of fitness, from obstacle courses like the Ninja Warrior. There's biking, rollerblading, skateboarding, mountain bike trails, hiking, rock climbing. Like find the avenue of fitness you like And maybe it is lifting weights, maybe it's fighting, maybe it's kickboxing, maybe it's jiu-jitsu. I mean, maybe it's wrestling. Like, find the avenue that suits what you enjoy and what you like to do. But I mean, it literally raises your endorphins after workout. You get, the brain set or mindset of like accepting that I accomplished something today, even if it's just not a workout. Like, I did that. Like, because no one can work out for you. I always make the joke with my friends, like when I'm sick, like, hey, do some extra reps for me. It doesn't help me out. It's a joke, but you have to do those things yourself, and it's sometimes harder and sometimes it's easier. But I think overall, eating a little cleaner and focusing on the insides and outsides of your body, what goes into it, and that physical activity is super helpful.
100%. And a lot of people, when we start talking physical activities and stuff like that, they jump to thinking we're talking about being outside. Look, I know this last year has been atrocious for trying to do anything. So you go out. Joe and I tried to shoot hoops one day in the middle of the summer, and wow, it was unbelievably awkward because there's people there, they're taking chains off the hoop so they can shoot. They don't want to shoot with others because they're worried. It was a completely different feel. So I understand when you're out there and you're doing things and trying to get your best you, that all of a sudden a wrench gets thrown in your way. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. So
right.
Just remember that. Sorry, all of a sudden my phone's going crazy. But like, for real, we as a community, finding those avenues. I think that, boom, right here, Twitch. It is writing helps me keeping my sanity and also deals with my emotions. Now, I'm gonna make a personal comment here, but this is just because it's me. I have not been a good journaler, but I know that going and writing is essential and getting things out. I have been carrying paper with me, making notes everywhere I go, so that way I can check them off through the day, make a little list at the end of the night. But when I sit down to go do my number twos at the end of the night before bed, I'm journaling instead of checking social media, instead of answering emails, instead of listening to something new. I literally am sitting down and journaling. And I started that like 2 weeks ago, and it's pretty amazing to see how my mind turns. It's pretty
like I am.
What's that?
April's an empath like I am.
You're not an empath.
Yes, I am.
I know you are. I have to be careful around people because I can feel other people's energy. I agree. One time I was at a funeral and I almost fell over from the one lady's energy. It was a bad sickness feeling. Wow. I love it. I love writing poetry and thoughts. I feel that people have to put their creativity down, whether it's through a computer, through their phone, through paper. Do yourself a favor and be writing. Get your journals going, because that idea that maybe you thought was something crazy that you wrote down, you see 6 months later, might be something that actually is meant to be that spark, that difference. Brit Brat, who made me lose, and I was going to have to shave my beard and threw Gavin and Sonny at me. She's been going outside since COVID hit. It pissed her off when everyone decided to go to the parks that I had been going to for months, but COVID has not stopped me from anything. Photography is your jam. You missed the morning brew.
The arts are so great, I think, for any mental health, because if you're not somebody that's really into like the gyms and stuff, that's perfectly okay. Like I said earlier, we're all unique, and some people are just really talented in the arts, and that's how they express their positivity and helping their mental health. And it's a great outlet too. I think a fantastic outlet.
100%. You and I talk about going out and doing things and finding something new. This morning we had a photographer on, and he was amazing, talking about how it influences him and who he is as a person. And more of us need to be able to do that. Britt, you and I should go take a photo shoot one day. Writing, yes, I wrote something and made goosebumps. One person made me give goosebumps because they could feel what I felt. You don't know what your writing's going to do. You might write something that influences somebody to change their path in life. So like, my best advice for everybody is like, do yourself the favor and don't be deterred by what others think of what you're doing through photography, through writing, through exercise. Like I'll wear a onesie that's a unicorn onesie on air, and 9 out of 10 men are like, "Oh my god." 8 out of 10 people are like, "He's such a dork." But at the end of the day, I want to put myself. But I. Sorry, her Brett made me laugh. I want to be able to provide people a platform to find their best them, because I know what that pain feels like. And if your creativity is photography, me too. If your creativity is photography, if your creativity is drawing, if your creativity is writing and poetry, take that love you have for it and look inside yourself while doing it, and fuck everybody else. Fuck everybody else, because they matter, but they don't matter about what brings you happiness. So, Joe, dealing with mental health issues is always fun. How would you recommend being someone who has been involved with many different people that have it? How would you feel about, how do you communicate with people when you see they're in a spot and respond without being angry or mean and making them go toward the dark side?
Well, I learned I'm really direct, and that's kind of my issue. And so with real close friends, I get to be who I am and kind of tell them how it is, whether they like it or not. But people that I don't know as close, I really recommend just the baby steps. Like little pokes, right? I'm not really trying to push their buttons or triggers. Just doing like little pokes to kind of gauge where they're at. Do they just have a bad week? Are they having bad months? Are they suffering from something? Is it something I've been through, to where I can share empathy? And that's another thing I learned too, is don't always say I know what you're going through. Like even if you do, people always don't want to hear that when they're down and out, or they don't want to hear all this motivational stuff, because they're not at that stage yet. Maybe they're just in it, right in the dark part, like right now going through it. And all that motivational talk, it's not going to work for them. And then what works for one person doesn't work for everybody. Like what works for Brandon might not work for me, and vice versa. So you have to understand that too, because we're all different. Different little things help others, and not necessarily you or them. And so it's kind of finding out where's their sweet spot is. Like, do they like chocolate or ice cream? But in mental health, you just got to figure out, like, does music motivate them and kind of get them out of that? Does drawing, does fitness, does going to get coffee, just going to like events, which obviously with COVID has been a real heartbreaker for a lot of people. Is that kind of like their way, going to the movies? You just kind of got to figure your friend or family member out and help them out that way.
I love it. Because I use myself as the guinea pig, how do you push me? Because you see when I'm down
I
before
do
anybody else.
Man up push with you. No, I obviously I'm a little harsher on you because I know you, so I'm a little more direct. But when you're having a real bad day, I pump the brakes, because it's I know it's not going to be beneficial at that point to be that hard or strict on you. So I make sure to pump the brakes on those days and just kind of give you your space, but let you know, like, hey, I'm here. And even though I'm an introvert, you're an extrovert, I make sure to give you time to talk just about not work stuff, just friend stuff, and open up and have, because I remember during lockdown, I used to call you almost every single day I did cardio on the treadmill, just to catch up and just to talk as friends, not even about work, just because I knew you missed that engagement. You know what I mean? And as a friend, as an introvert, it's not that I didn't enjoy talking to you, but that was the sacrifice I had to make as a friend, being completely okay with lockdown and loving it, and be like, this is fantastic. I don't have to see people at all, or deal with them if I don't want to. But that's a sacrifice I made as a friend for my extroverted friend as an introvert, to be like, hey, like, this is an engagement he's really missing and struggling. Meanwhile, I'm, in Cancun over here, not minding it at all. You know what
I mean? Joe, you do like to be alone. You love to be in silence. Yeah. You like to be just at your own pace. And I'm someone that has to be doing 10 things at once and trying to so many different things. And you turned around and made me see that I had to slow down and reset things, because just because I can do 10 things at once doesn't mean that
You should.
I'm actually getting the best out of them.
That too. Absolutely.
So, but we are coming up to the last few minutes of the show. I'm really sorry our guest hasn't made it. I sent her a Facebook message and an email and a text earlier today and everything. It does. I just looked at her. It looked on Facebook. She hasn't even seen it yet. So I want to send good vibes to her. I hope she's okay. We'll make sure to get her back on another time and have this conversation with her information and facts because she's doing a lot of great things. So, guys, if you have any other questions before we go, Joe and I are here, but we'll start saying our goodbyes. Joe, this week has been a fun week. We've been doing different things. You've been having a long week, I know. What is your motivation to help you finish the week strong? Get you through this hump day?
I mean, real simple. When you're going through something, you have two paths. You can take a self-destructive route, or you could have a growth mindset and take a growth route. And that's what I did this week. Going through personal family stuff for myself is I could self-destruct all week long, which isn't productive at all. And and that's easier. It's much easier for all of us to do that. I can lay on the couch and binge Netflix, still enjoy doing that. Or I can work out, do what I need to do and further myself. And that's the route I took. And, it wasn't always that easy to take that route. I took the other route many times in life to learn that that's not going to help me. And I started to take the growth route whenever I go through stuff now, even though it's hard. I just engage in the things I know where I can get that positivity back and that are going to help me get me through. And it doesn't mean sunshine and rainbows, but I learned that the growth mindset is a much better path than the self-destructive one.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
So our guest just texted me. I'm excited tonight to do it as well.
Oh God. We'll have to get him on soon.
Guys, this has been The H. It's an honest conversation about health, hemp, and happiness. Joe and I are here. We're literally open to conversations on this, and
email as well on the website.
Joe dot is it? Yeah. What's your email?
Oh, Joe dot my last name at Delight Cafe. What? I can't type it, so.
Joe.Holdreth, HOLDREITH at delightcafe.com. Send him fun time. If you guys send Joe an email right now with a picture of something random, I will show all of them next week because he's going to be like, look at all these stupid pictures I got. So
depending what they are, that might be my exact words.
Hey, Bridget, I love that. You find your voice. I come off as a huge extrovert. I really do.
Guest, Bridget, if you're willing to
do we'll set you, Bridget. I'll set you up, and we'll set up a time to get an interview.
Brad, if you want to jump on and talk some photography stuff, we could bring you out with another photographer. We'd love to showcase your stuff too. No? Okay.
No, she's mean to me.
Oh, okay. So definitely come on then.
She's not even here anymore to defend herself. That's the best part. But guys, this has been a great episode.
Thanks, Sarah.
I want to everybody jump on, do yourself a favor, send Joe an email of some random thing in your house. It could be a lamp. It could be a picture of me as a child. I love lamp. It could be a picture of someone as a child and all that. It could be an iPad. I don't care. Have fun. Send something to Joe and spread love and positivity. Guys, thank you for watching tonight. This is The H, an honest conversation about health, hemp, and happiness. This is Joe. Fuck Joe, because when you want to blame somebody in life, blame Joe. But at the end of the day, know that you're saying fuck yourself. All right? Guys, this is Brandon. I wish you all the best. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day. See ya.